According to the Sumerian manuscripts, there is a planet at the ends of the solar system called Nibiru. Every 3,600 years, it enters an orbit close to the planet Earth. Nibiru was the home planet of the Anunnaki. After a long and tiring search, they arrived on planet Earth about 445,000 years ago, where they were the first astronauts to cross space and colonize another planet.
And it's very clear they're not stories about gods. They're stories about the powerful ones in the Bible and the sky people, the Anunnaki, in the Sumerian tablets.
In 1896, eminent scholar Nathaniel Schmidt was fired from his position as Professor of Semitic Languages at Colgate University. For 11 years, this American university had enjoyed Nathaniel Schmidt's erudition in Semitic languages. He delivered numerous courses in Hebrew, Aramaic, Coptic, Arabic, Syriac, and other ancient languages besides. In fact, Nathaniel Schmidt was one of America's leading scholars in the field. So why, after 11 years of outstanding achievement, was he tried for heresy and fired from his tenure in 1896? Though a devout Christian and a Baptist pastor, the authorities considered that his recent theological papers had struck at the very roots of two world religions, Christianity and Judaism.
What Nathaniel Schmidt had done wrong was read the Sumerian and Babylonian and Assyrian texts and notice that they were full of fascinating parallels, stories that occurred there that were uncannily similar to all the stories of beginnings of the Bible. Stories like Adam and Eve, the fall, Cain and Abel, the flood, the limiting of human life, the event at the Tower of Babel. Because if you think about it, the church was still reeling from the after effects of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species, and it was busy putting together new doctrinal bases and new doctrines of biblical inerrancy to shore up the ship. So the idea that the Bible might actually be based on somebody else's stories was a bit of an embarrassment. It shouldn't have been, because Judaism and Christianity both find their roots in the story of a Sumerian family, the family of Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah grew up and spent the best part of their lives in Ur of the Chaldees, a Sumerian culture. And so when they emigrated from there, it's hardly surprising that they would carry with them all the stories of beginnings that they had grown up with, and sow them into the foundations of what was to become their culture, their religion, and their Bible. And so it shouldn't be a surprise that in the Bible we have a summary version of all these stories that pepper the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian texts. The problem and the shock horror is that the original versions, the Sumerian versions of these stories, make no mention of God at all. In the Sumerian originals, these are stories of our ancestors' contact with another species, a species called the Anunnaki.
Could Judaism and Christianity's familiar stories of God really be a retelling of our ancestors' close encounters with extraterrestrials? The cuneiform tablets which had fascinated Nathaniel Schmidt were first unearthed in the 1500s as colonial powers began to excavate the ancient sites of Mesopotamia. Over the decades that followed, some 200,000 clay tablets were uncovered. The tablets were adorned with strange etchings or glyphs made when the clay was soft. Scholars of the day were divided as to the meanings of these markings. Some believed the glyphs to be an unknown written language. Others refused to accept this, since the tablets appeared to predate any known language. They presumed the markings to be no more than decoration. And so the tablets were archived, their secrets locked away for 3 centuries. Until, in 1835, Henry Rawlinson arrived in southwestern Iran.
Rawlinson was a military man. He was employed by the East India Tea Company, and he was in Iran helping the Shah of Iran to train his troops. He was there for access to the district of Behistun. He wanted to find the Behistun inscription.
The Behistun inscription was an ancient royal proclamation carved into a cliff face. It was written in 3 known languages: Persian, Elamite, and Akkadian, which was the common language of the Mesopotamian cultures. The inscription expressed all 3 languages in cuneiform script. It was the translation key the cuneiform tablets had been waiting for. The memories of Mesopotamia's ancient cultures were suddenly an